Donna Leon is an American-born writer who spent most of her life as a kind of itinerant academic, teaching English literature at universities and colleges around the world. And then she pitched up in Venice, and in 1992 she published the first in a series of novels about a Venetian detective, Commissario Brunetti. The Golden Egg is the 22nd in the series. In it, the Commissario investigates, unofficially, the death of a deaf-mute boy living in his neighbourhood. We invited Donna Leon here to our studios at Broadcasting House so we could meet the author. Donna Leon, for people like me who've never read a Commissario Brunetti novel, just give us a quick thumbnail sketch. Who is he? What does he do?
Commissario Guido Brunetti is a Venetian police commissario who is, I like to think, intelligent, articulate, humorous, well-educated, well-read in the classics, whose job it is to investigate crimes of some importance that are committed in these books, supposedly in Venice, but crimes like this seldom happen in Venice.
And unlike many heroes of detective novel series, he seems to be a thoroughly functional character. He has a very happy family life and so on.
He's married to a nice, intelligent woman. He has 2 decent kids. He lives well, he eats well. His wife is a university professor. They talk about books, they talk about literature, they talk about art, they talk about painting. Not because these are snobbish people, but because this is what people at that level of education talk about, I think.
One of the things coming fresh to these novels that strikes me is how deeply, profoundly cynical your characters are about the country in which they live, the corruption, the politics. After all, these people are police officers. They should be upholders of the law, and yet they seem to see it broken all around them.
I think that cynical is too strong a word. I really do. I think that they are resigned and accept, because Italians are very good at this, they are resigned to and accept human nature as it is. They have no illusions about human nature or human society or human politics. So they are distressed to find that things don't work. But things don't work.
Would it be fair to say that you share a lot of these attitudes yourself, and that though you clearly love Venice, which is where you live yourself, you're somewhat disenchanted by Italy?
No, it's not that I'm disenchanted with it. I still find it an enchanting place, but I'm 70 years old, and I think that at 70 you have the right not to have illusions, and not to perpetuate illusions about human behavior or human decency or human anything. I still believe that the bulk of the Italians that I know that the bulk of the Italians I've dealt with are decent, hard-working people, and I believe that that is true of most of the people in the country. But I believe that Pollyanna-like of most people. I think that most people are basically good. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to wake up every morning safely in our beds. I think that Italians just don't have illusions about human behavior, and they don't attempt to perpetuate them.
21 books, I think it is, into this series. You obviously have a sort of contract with your readers. They have certain expectations. What is it that you set out to give them?
I think what I provide, I like to think that what I provide, is a view of Venice that is not romanticized, that is not transmuted into some Disneyland idea of the magic fairy city, the beauty place. Venice is a small provincial town where people gossip. They gossip about people's grandfathers, they gossip about people's fathers. Everybody knows everybody. There are no secrets. It's really a small town of 58,000 people that is disguised as a cultural hub and a sophisticated modern city. It's none of those things.
Now, as well as a writer of detective stories, you are also an enthusiast for opera, particularly Baroque opera.
Yes,
all your novels start with an epigraph from a famous opera. This one starts with an epigraph from Handel's Julius Caesar, Giulio Cesare, and you were for a long time associated with a group, Il Complesso Barocco, who record and perform Baroque operas, and who recently, a couple of years ago, did a recording of Giulio Cesare. How far, to what extent, if at all, is there a comparison to be made between the business of putting together a detective novel and the business of putting together a Baroque opera?
Oh. It's probably easier to write a detective novel because you just sit at your desk and you go until it's done. But with an opera, first you have to decide which one, then you have to figure out who to sing the different parts, and then who to play in the orchestra, and then you have to find out who of them is free, then you have to find a place to record, you have to find a recording company, and then you have to find places that will agree to take it as a concert. Because in order for any opera recording today to be made, it must be able to defray some of the costs by a concert tour, which will get back some of the money spent for the recording. It's a very complicated business.
Your plots, presumably, are more plausible than that of most Baroque operas.
Yeah, well, I suspect that that's true. Because there should be a discernible line. But there is in most of the operas. Some of them become a little bit confused.
There's been a lot of speculation that we might in this country see a television adaptation of the Brunetti novels. There was a German one once,
Yes.
which I think you weren't tremendously impressed by. Can the Brits do better?
Well, we're going to find out. I hope to find out. I had lunch with people from the BBC yesterday. We've been talking with increasing agreement for the last couple of years. And I'm reasonably optimistic that this will happen in the next couple of years, that the BBC will produce them. And I'm very enthusiastic about that. Because
and are you one of those writers who's happy to say to the television people, take it away, you do it your way, or do you want to keep control?
No, I don't. I'm not a control freak. But what I would like to do is to suggest to them that they avail themselves of the possibility of someone with an Italian sensibility and an Italian heritage, with an Italian with Italy in their blood. I'm not that person because I'm not Italian, who would look at them in terms of dress, in terms of behavior, so that the men don't sit at this distance, that the men are, ciao Guido, come stai? So that people touch one another, the way Italians are always touching one another, so that it doesn't turn into another Germanic sort of Inspector Derrick in Venice.
I will unfold my very British arms as you do that and say, Donna Leon, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.